I want to, first of all, thank all of you for coming to my talk. This tent is 100% haunted. There will be noises. It's fine. Maybe it's Rear Admiral Grace Hopper, if we're lucky. I want to thank Twilio for having me. Huge fan of Twilio. Love using their APIs. For those of you who don't know what an API is, by the way, because that's been said like probably 500 times so far today, it's an application programming interface. I kind of tell people who are new to development that when you go to a foreign country, you want to like maybe ask for food, and you'll like look at like a book that translates like your language into theirs so that you can get food. And that kind of book, that translating book, is like an API. It's like how you communicate to get information that you need. And I really, really love APIs because it allows me to do really powerful things with a small set of tools. My name is Jen Schiffer. Most people who know me through Twitter. This is what I look like in real life. I'm a pixel artist, but I didn't make this avatar. In fact, no one seems to know where it came from, so if you do know the artist, please let me know. When I searched dinosaur skateboard sick, I only came up with this other one and this one. So I need to find all three of those artists, honestly. Other people know me for writing satire about tech culture, specifically in the JavaScript community. How Node.js is going to replace JavaScript was a hit of mine, as was how JavaScript is going to replace Node.js. I just started working at Fog Creek Software in early February. It's only been like a few months, and I'm still here and on stage. Fog Creek is a really excellent company. It's been around for 17 years, and sometimes people are like, oh, I've never heard of it, but you probably heard of some of the products that have come out of it. Started by Joel Spolsky, who wrote Joel on Software, which is a blog that a lot of people have read. We make fog bugs. We co-created Stack Overflow, created Trello, which is now owned by Atlassian, and then we have Glitch, which is a product that I work on right now. So it's just one of those interesting companies that needs diagraphs to explain what we do. So I'm a community engineer on glitch.com. I'm going to talk a lot about that later on, but we're an in-browser IDE that's super cute and super fun to work with. And besides being super fun and cute, building software is kind of hard to do. I wouldn't say that it's any harder than it was when I was starting out years ago. It's just that as I get older and more mature, I'm building more mature web applications. There's this huge debate on Twitter all the time about whether it's extremely difficult to do front end compared to 10 years ago, because now we have all these frameworks and tooling and stuff like that. But I think of 10 years ago when I was building front end stuff, I was building like simple HTML pages for my boyfriend's band. And that isn't really a lucrative business. And what's lucrative is building these more ambitious things. And I think that there are, besides the social barriers to getting into coding and staying in coding, some of the other issues are coming up with what to make, how to make it, what tooling to use. But then again, the social aspect, the people. People, that's probably one of my hardest barriers to being in this industry. And it's one that I can't avoid because no matter how far into my engineering career that I am, and even for people who are just getting started, we don't learn alone. I am classically trained in computer science. I have a bachelor's and master's in computer science. Some of the engineers that I admire the most have backgrounds in creative writing or have not gone to college at all. And some people say that they're self-taught, but I think, among other things, that self-taught is a fake idea. You might be self-guided, but you have been taught by something, either it being books or the internet or conversations and stuff like that. So that's sort of why I try to drive home the point that we don't learn alone, no matter how much we wish that we could. So what do we make? How many people here have wanted to try out a new tool or a new framework or a new language, but never have because they're just not sure what they're going to make with it? Happens to me all the time. I wish that I could write in 50 different languages. That would be pretty cool, right? So I want to tell you a story about the power of friendship Imagine sparkles coming out of my hand. I imagine that's the singularity is when I can do that. So I want to tell you a story about, and this is a true story, about this woman, Madeline Wood. She's an engineer in New York City, and she has a new friend, that's Jennifer, which is me. I'm Jennifer. Madelinifer, if you will. And we met in a very typical 2017 millennial New York City kind of way. I stole her mayorship on Swarm from a really cool cocktail bar in the Lower East Side called Dirty French. It's in the Ludlow Hotel. And she messaged me saying we should hang out sometime, which is really sweet and cool. We met up a couple of months later because in typical New York fashion, we were all like super busy and stuff. And it was also winter, and you know, New York winters suck. But we met up and we spent hours that night having drinks and expensive small plates of weird foods we've never had and aren't sure what we were even eating that night, talking about this here talk I'm at. She'd asked me, what are you up to? And I was like, what am I not up to? I started a new job, working on a new product. I said yes to speaking at this conference called Signal, put on by Twilio. She was familiar, and I was like, what the heck am I going to talk about? And I hit that wall of like, what should I make to present it here? And that night led to many days and conversations over different mediums, starting with the phrase, what if Twilio could, ... And we came up with a whole bunch of different like real crazy ideas that we can use with the Twilio API without even researching whether it's actually possible, because I like to go into a brainstorming session thinking it's just software, we can do it. Whether we have the time and the money to do it is a whole other thing. But the brainstorming part is really great. And I asked her if we could exchange phone numbers because Instagram DMs are kind of a nightmare. And she just warned me, we're going to get random Twilio bot ideas for the next week. Hope you're ready for this, and I hope you're ready for this because some of these get quite surreal, as my ideas do. So we started out real strong, Twilio AI bot that listens to all your conversations and then synthesizes what you talk about most and gives a talk for you based on that. Madeline and I are very, one thing we have in common is that we don't like doing work. So if we could have a robot do the work for us, beautiful. And I figured, what about a bot that lurks in a chat group for a week and just like gives a single message that's a Markov chain of that week's messages? Because I've done stuff with Markov chain bots and stuff. We can do that with Twilio. We just need a phone number and a user API. We were talking about other technologies, and this is why it's really great if you saw the keynote. We could probably do this now because the Alexa communication stuff and the Twilio API. When your phone rings, your light changes colors. You shout, Alexa, pick up the phone. It answers on speaker, and the light pulses to the voice waves as you talk. The lights that we were originally talking about were the spire on One World Trade Center, which there's like a beta app that a few people have control of where they can change the colors of it, which not many people know, and I'm trying to get access because I just need that power. And I had just bought an Echo Dot, and I was just like, I'm sure that we can connect to the Echo Dot with Twilio, and now we can in an even stronger way, which is awesome. A bot that makes your lights turn red every time I text you a dumb idea. And there are a lot of them. The great thing about brainstorming is that like not every idea that comes through, you don't have to build all of them. Letterbot, which turns text messages into handwritten letters and sends them to friends. I'm seeing this really great wave of using technology to lead to analog communication. I see ads on Facebook all the time for a service where you can send somebody an actual potato with like a message carved into it. So that's cool. What a time to be alive, right? ASCII bot that will turn any animated GIF into ASCII. Bonus points for ASCII animation, which is cool because I know of an ASCII library that I saw on GitHub a couple years ago that does just that. And I'm like, okay, we can do that. We can get the message from the text, use the Twilio API, have some sort of like microserver that looks for that and then converts it to a GIF and maybe sends it back into the message. And then sort of exploring different ideas of using hardware with Twilio, which you're going to see some really awesome demonstrations over the next 2 days. Basically, if you are interested in hardware demonstrations of cool things being done with them and APIs at a conference, just look for anybody who works at Microsoft, this front row right here. Or a text bot, when a message says, don't say anything, responds to the group with the eyes emoji. I'm still not sure who watches the watch bots, but I'm in the right place to ask that question. I see you in those track jackets. This one I like in particular, Survivor group chat. Every week, Survivor bot pings each individual and asks who they could vote out of the chat. My best friend Lisa was like, what the hell, Jen? As Madeline said, it's lonely at the top. A mansplain text bot that searches Wikipedia for a word that has a result in my message and responds, well, actually, with a link. And of course, I was just like, this is so great, this is so great. I'm going to make all of these things. And this is what I call the aha moment of programming. It's that moment when you're super stoked. You're like, I know I want to make, I kind of have an idea that maybe it's possible to make it. But for me, I'm such a visual person, I just need to see in my head, these are the things that I'm going to create, and now I have something where I can go heads down and learn how to engineer those things. But this aha moment is super ephemeral. It fades very fast. Many times I go to a text editor and it's blank, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to build this thing, and then I'm like, ugh, I have to get it on the internet. That's a whole other deal. DevOps, who needs it? We all do, it turns out. So it goes from like, I'm going to make all of these to, you know, and so it's like, how do we keep that aha moment going? Because I feel like this is a huge barrier for people at all levels of using code, whether you're a beginner programmer, an experienced expert programmer, or someone who doesn't consider themselves a developer because there's something else and they just happen to be using code to solve a specific problem. One thing that I've encountered are people who do different kinds of things and they use code here and there to solve an issue, but they're not a full-time developer, so they feel isolated from tutorials and all that sort of things. Like, we're not really covering all bases of the different kinds of people who are using code. And Jeff had mentioned that every company is becoming a software company, and I just think that programming has always been interdisciplinary. Very rarely are engineers just building tools for other engineers. You would think differently if you were on tech Twitter, but that's the case. So the next thing to sort of keep that aha moment going that sometimes stops it is our tooling. For me, when I have a blank text editor, I'm like, I don't know where to start. Okay, I'm a JavaScript developer, also a PHP developer. Am I going to do PHP? Am I going to write Node? What's going to make my life easier? Because a lot of these ideas, I just want to prototype really quickly. Again, I'm a very busy woman. I've got a new job. I've got to speak at Twilio Signal. I got to fly out here from New York. You know, it's like I don't have time to run all these Ansible scripts and all that kind of stuff. So I just happen to be working on a product that allows me to do some pretty easy prototyping of tools and also like real ambitious apps and not have to worry about putting them online because we deploy them for you. So glitch.com, which is an already existing product, you can use it today or yesterday if you, I don't know, someone might be doing a time traveling talk here at Signal, who knows. We have an in-browser editor here. And it looks like your standard editor if you're used to programming already. If you're new to programming, this is kind of what you have. You have your files on the side, your code on the right. And it's also collaborative. Other people can join you, and you can code together, which is kind of fun, I think, especially if you're into pairing and learning and teaching. And when you create an app on Glitch, it's deployed for you in your own VM or virtual machine. So you want to start with an index.html file and write some HTML, it's already online. You have a URL, you can click show app, and it will open it up. You don't have to worry about signing up for any hosting companies. You have to enter a credit card. Not all people have credit cards. People are forgetting that when they're teaching code. So I feel like it's a great entry regardless of your socioeconomic background or whether you even want to like pay to put an index.html page up. You can do that. We focus on Node apps, but we unofficially support other languages. If you go to our community site, which is glitch.com, we have some like Python examples in there. We split into different categories, like building blocks. Who here never again wants to roll their own OAuth? Yeah, okay, so rolling your own OAuth is something that is like a coming of age thing in programming, but we come of age every single week we start a new project. I built some OAuth building blocks, so you can just go and remix, which is basically like cloning a project, but it's already spun up in its own VM in yours. You can remix any of those OAuth things, and then you can just build your app around it. So you don't have to roll your own OAuth anymore. Imagine that world. We have it here, which is great. We also have some really cool Twilio apps. Another interesting thing that I thought was cool, but it turns out a lot of other people think is cool, glitch.com is itself a glitch app. So you can view the source. Remember view source? Who here is like remembers viewing source of websites and learning? Like we're trying to bring that back. And you can also view the source of the node files, which I think is also super rad, especially as we're using frameworks to sort of black box and abstract our JavaScript and other languages. You can open up dev tools, and if there are source maps, if you're lucky, you can kind of see what's going on. But to be able to view the actual source of it in there as it's deployed, I think is a really valuable thing. So we separate into different categories. We've got hello worlds with different things. We have building blocks. We also love Twilio. We have a collection of Twilio apps, and if you go to Twilio, glitch.com/signal, we have apps from sponsors at this conference here, and you can just view what we've got. I had built a demo of their IP chat SDK, and you can view the source, or you can remix your own, which will then give you your own copy of it. And then you just go into the environment variable folder and enter in your tokens. It's really simple. And we're also working on making that an even easier process for working with all different types of APIs. So we're actively working on tooling. We depend on friendships to work on figuring out what to make. The hardest problem, of course, is people. I usually like to troll people at tech conferences, quote Dijkstra in my slides, but since we are in the Rear Admiral Grace Hopper tent here, which again is full of ghosts, I wanted to quote her. She said, "I've always been more interested in the future than in the past." And that quote really resonates with me because being in tech for quite a bit of time and in academia before, I've dealt with a lot of issues with working with different people and putting out the stuff that I've been doing in the community and feeling like safe and welcomed in it. And I keep pushing forward because I kind of see things improving, just at a slow pace. It could go faster, But we're trying to think of the issues that we've had in the past in order to enhance the future. And I think that a lot of the people in this room are working at companies that are doing that. That's why I was really excited to hear about the apprenticeship that Twilio is launching. And I think it's really cool, like what companies at Twilio are doing for diversity, inclusivity, and announcing it at things like big event keynotes so that everyone understands the value of it. For Glitch, we were thinking about how raising our hand when we need help is a pretty, there's a kind of stigma to it. When I was little and I was in school and a teacher asked a question and I knew the answer, I was afraid to raise my hand because I was afraid of being wrong. And when I had a question, I was afraid to raise my hand because I was afraid that I was going to be seen as like dumb even. Raise your hand if you had that issue. Right? And I think it's still something that I see today. But then at the same time, when you go through tech interviews, people talk about how it's so important to ask questions. So it's this weird, like, as I call it, a catch-182. People are raising their hands. So with Glitch, we launched a new feature this week called Help, where you can raise your hand and ask for help. So in this demo here, we have this default project, reviewing the app here. It's a Node app that allows you to enter your dreams. Take a nap is one of my custom dreams. And I'm new to this, and I'm like, I like this, but I kind of want the bullets to be numbers. I'm not sure how to do that. I'm kind of new to HTML. I I see here, this is where dreams are, maybe this is where the list is. I could ask the community for help. So I explain what I want. I want the list of dreams to have numbers instead of bullets. We can detect what language you're writing in, and we're making it even smarter where we can, in the JavaScript files, detect what imports you're including or what APIs you're included, such as Twilio. And then you can ask, and you get little confetti and celebration because asking for help is really cool, really fun. Just people don't know it yet, but they'll know it now. And then it's also, if you don't ask help, you're just going to stay stuck and nothing's going to get done. Why don't people understand that? So someone else is on glitch.com, and they see there are a bunch of people asking for help, and they're like, oh, Jen wants a list of dreams to be numbers instead of bullets. So I'm going to go in, and it takes you to right where where Jen has asked the question, more celebration. And the person's like, okay, I know, I'm going to change this to an OL. The OL tag is an ordered list, but I don't have access to it just yet, so I have to request to join. Because we don't want anybody to just be able to jump into your project and mess things up for you. So then I allowed them in, invite them to help me. And so they can go in and update the code. As a former educator and continuing to be an educator, I think it's really important that you not just like hold someone's hand or tell them to move out of the way and then do it for them. In this case, I really encourage people to leave inline comments because I think documentation is really important, and this is the easiest way to do that. And so I like to leave comments in the code when I'm helping people to show them what I had changed and why, so that they like learn from that process. And then here in the JavaScript, you have to change the UL to OL so it knows where to detect that. And then I sort of leave that code there. You'll notice in the list of files, there's a .env file. That's typically where you put tokens for your APIs. When you let people into your project or when people remix your project, your tokens are not visible to them. So it's secure in that sense. But they can see the property names in there. So someone can go in and be like, oh, actually, this needs to be called Twilio _account _SID or something like that. So the original owner of the app sees that, oh, let me see if it's numbers instead of bullets. Yay, 1, that's a number I hear. And so they're like, okay, this person's helped me out. I can stop asking for help. And then another thing that I can do is thank them. And this is something I think is really cute. You can remove them from a project, or if they've helped you out, maybe keep them on. So yeah, you can thank them, which is really nice. And you can only thank a person once. This isn't like a reputation system. I'm trying to keep things altruistic in terms of helping. And the person that got helped will see a couple of little hearts coming up over their icon, which I also think is super cute. There's this sort of, I think, new advent of really cute and adorable tooling coming through that sort of enhances your experience as you're programming. I think that we take advantage of how important positive, constructive feedback is and positive reinforcement. And so we try to work these little things into our tools because I think that they are like low impact, high value in terms of design. So you can go to glitch.com/signal, and you can see a bunch of already existing apps using APIs of a lot of the people you're going to meet here at this conference, especially Twilio. And I think that ultimately the takeaway from all of this, instead of just like figuring out how to make tools that lower all these barriers, is that friendship rules. Glitch and Twilio APIs work really well together. And we love working with all different types of APIs. But ultimately, we love the people who are using APIs to build really cool things, and we want people to have access to learning and continuing to do that because we love people who code. As someone who's getting into dev evangelism and is an engineer, I continue to remind myself how building the web is like very weird and difficult, but fantastic. I'm always kind of like, why do I do this? But like, why wouldn't I? And I can like wax poetic about everything else going on. But like, as long as we're all collectively, actively working on improving ways to figure out what to make and how to make it, and most importantly, how we deal with people and how we work together to do all of these things, we don't have to feel like we're learning alone. We can feel okay with raising our hand when we need help. And also, importantly, we can feel like it's okay to go in and help somebody when they're asking for help. Because at the end of the day, like I said before, we don't learn alone. Thank you.